Good morning and welcome to Grand Central Station. This is Jack Emery Lund, and there's a couple cool things that happened today. Marvel just dropped their Infinity War trailer literally 10 minutes ago. I just watched it. It was awesome. I am really looking forward to this. I think I'm going to talk probably a little bit more about Hollywood culture. That'd probably be a good topic to talk about today. I need to learn how to talk slower and less completely broken. I need to space out my thoughts. I talk too fast. So today there were a couple different things that happened in the White House. Apparently John Kelly and McMaster are on their way out. I never really had a problem with Kelly. I thought he handled Rob Porter badly, but I didn't think that deserved for him to be for him to leave. I don't think he's leaving because of Rob Porter. I'm pretty sure he's leaving because of policy decisions and staffing decisions that Trump has made that he disagrees with. McMaster, I was surprised that he ever got appointed, and I do think he's worthy of the job, and he's a decorated veteran as far as if I'm correct. But McMaster has been. I've heard conflicting things on his efficiency. I'm not surprised that he's leaving. One of the things that I had heard was Gary Cohn has been out for a few days now, but he's getting replaced by someone who has effectively the exact same policies as Gary Cohn. So that's kind of surprising. But this is what Trump likes to do. He loves to keep things shaken up. And this is completely unsubstantiated. This isn't unconfirmed. This might have actually been a joke, but I had seen this on Twitter. Was that there were people in the White House with like a betting pool on who's going to get fired next, which is so Trumpian. It's like that's oh my God. We are truly living in the greatest timeline. My God, this is just a joke. You could spend an entire lifetime writing a case study on exact, like, all of the dynamics on American society over the last 3 years. And it really is, and I've seen multiple people say this, it really is like America, the TV show. And seriously, you could not write a reality TV show better than this. You couldn't write a fictional TV show better than this. So what are all of the parts of a great TV show? You have a lot of conflict. You have important characters. You have controversy. You have intrigue. You could not make a better TV show than from 2015, 2016, 2017. It's just been one thing after another that is like on today's episode of The Trumps, suddenly McMaster and Kelly are out. And I don't think there's been effectively like a single day since Trump announced his candidacy that we've had like any kind of normalcy. Every single day there's something. It's not like there's something big that happens like even once a week and just kind of average on some days. It's like literally every single day there's some breaking news. You've heard of the 24-hour news cycle, and nowadays it's like the 24-minute news cycle. Something happens every hour or so. It's crazy. But but as far as like America the TV show goes, it's like you obviously have Trump versus Hillary, and that effectively speaks for itself. But you have effectively like the mafia being like Russia, and you have the constant adversary of people like Kim Jong-un. You just have constant controversy, constant plot twists. And that's the thing. It's like every day there's a plot twist, and you never know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis. It's totally not unpredictable. It's completely... it's all broken down into... moments of intrigue. and that's what makes any TV show great. I mean, you have strong, well-established characters that are relatable, and you have people on sides. I mean, it's comparable to Game of Thrones. I personally don't watch Game of Thrones, but I know that I know at least the basics of it. I should really watch Game of Thrones. Everyone's, it's popular TV show. So I guess I can dive back into what I was talking about, which Hollywood culture. Hollywood, Hollywood can get a little bit, especially in recent years, can get a little bit extremist in how partisan it can be, which is really sad. And I can understand putting politics in movies. This is nothing new. When people on the right say that, Hollywood has become super liberal, Hollywood was always super liberal. This is nothing new. Hollywood has always been super liberal, and no one really cares. People don't. This has been nothing new. The thing that's quote unquote new is that the partisan divide has just become stronger, so everything is more relevant now. It's like if you put in a little bit of politics into a movie 20 years ago, you could release the same movie today, and you could release the same movie today and 20 years ago, and with the same scene, and it would be interpreted differently than now. It would be taken more seriously, more politically. It's like if you put in any political message, it is then taken more serious. I would say it would be taken more seriously now than it was, and than it would have been in the past. I mean, at this point, if you have any, gay character in a movie, suddenly it's the gay character rather than just a character that's gay, or any kind of political statement, or any kind of hey Butter's doing something really cute. Look at her, she's fluffy. I don't actually know if you can see that or not, but this is my cat. Hello, Butter. She is a fluff. I don't think anything's really changed in Hollywood. And I think people are wrong when they say that Hollywood has become this crazy partisan left-wing nut house. There are people who are crazy partisan left-wing nutcases. But I don't think that Hollywood as a whole, while I do think it is obviously liberal, and that's no secret, everyone in Hollywood will tell you the same thing, I don't think that the movies themselves have become more political. I just think that every political thing in a movie has been taken more seriously. I mean, you have an amazing movie like Black Panther, which became a thing of national controversy because people take politics way too seriously. People need to tone it down. Black Panther was an incredible movie, amazing acting, and obviously there were political moments in there. A lot of it was especially the one comment at the end with the UN talk where he said build bridges, not barriers, which was an obvious reference to the Trump wall. There are going to be political statements in movies. This is nothing new. But people take it way too freaking seriously. Black Panther was not a massive sign of resistance to the state of the world. Butter, I need you to move. The people on the right took Black Panther way too seriously as a political statement, and the people on the left took it way too seriously as a race movement. It was an incredible movie, probably one of the best in the Marvel franchise. I would say that my favorite Marvel movie was probably Age of Ultron. Black Panther would definitely be in the top 5. I would probably say that Doctor Strange would be my number 2. Black Panther probably 3, maybe 4. And I don't know about where I would put the original Avengers, but and Iron Man 1. Sorry. But Black Panther was one of the best in the Marvel lineup, and people made it so political. It was, I mean, how hard is it to just make a movie? Especially, and the reason it was such an incredible movie, or not the reason that was such an incredible movie, the reason it was such a big deal was obviously the entire cast is black, and people really like that. I really like that. I do think that I think that people should be represented as they are canonically. I disagreed with, but this is what I'm talking about. I loved the fact that they had a basically entire black cast because this is Africa. This. I mean, it's canonical. I disagreed with them having the brother in Fantastic Four being black because he's canonically white. Also, they're twins. I understand. I think I never actually saw the movie. I think they actually made it where he was adopted. So that's a little bit. So that's a lot more forgivable than them just being fraternal twins. I mean, obviously the fraternal twins are brother and sister, but that's not the point. When it comes to movies, I have a general standing opinion that characters should remain as they are canonically, with a little bit of poetic license. If you want to make a character gay that wasn't originally gay, I think that's fine. I don't really, because very few things, unless they have a direct romantic interest, directly say what a character's sexuality is. I generally disagree when they switch races, although depending on certain things, it's forgivable. Like, for example, I wouldn't have a problem with a black Spider-Man as long as it was Miles Morales, because Miles Morales is an amazing character, but Peter Parker isn't black. For the same reason that I think people would have rightly had a rage if they had made T'Challa white. Seriously, that would have been a thing of national controversy. But a lot of, and this is a fair thing that Hollywood says. A lot of the times, directors and actors in Hollywood will say that representation of minorities in movies, especially in fictional movies, is obviously low. The representation of minorities is not necessarily there's obviously going to be more white actors than there are black actors in Hollywood, and a lot of people say this is a problem. I agree that it is a problems are wrong. I agree that it is unfair. Problem is a hard word, because I just think that you should be an actor based on your quality of acting, not the color of your skin. That's not the point. I'm not saying that there needs to be a 50-50 split between blacks and whites, and especially because those aren't the only two races out there. But what I'm saying is like in a movie like Black Panther, they had, I think, two main white actors in the entire thing. It was Schmeagol and Bilbo Baggins were the two. It was like, I actually thought that was really cool. But they had two white actors in all of in Black Panther, and nobody had a problem with that. It was a really amazing movie. That was not a thing of underrepresentation. That was canonicity. There was, both of those characters had already been established, and both of those characters made sense in the plot. And everyone else in Black Panther, and then they had the Asian woman running the. Was that like Chinatown? And I actually remember I think it might have been China. I forget that scene, but it was like the old Asian woman at an Asian place, or Korean. I think it was South Korea. I didn't remember that scene quite well. But the point is that I respect canonicity. I don't really have a problem. I don't have any problem whatsoever with black actors in movies. I don't think anybody has, or I don't think any sensible person has a problem with actors being black. The only problem I have is when you break canonicity to a point where it's not believable. I think what they did with Fantastic Four was acceptable, making him adopted, because the powers the Fantastic Four have aren't genetic. It was, the solar flare incident. It was still a terrible movie. I never saw it, but it was like people couldn't stop telling me how bad it was. Apparently, not for the black actor, but just like as a movie. And I don't really want to ruin the original, because I really like the original Fantastic Four. So it surprises me that they don't have a Silver Surfer in this universe. But the point is characters, at least in my opinion, and I think in the opinions of most people, is that characters should remain as they are canon-wise to a degree. I think that there's a lot of poetic license to be taken. I think that what they did with... I think the way they set up Fantastic Four was fine. I think if they had genuinely been brother and sister, it would have been a little bit less believable. But they made them adopted, so that made it work better. And as I said, the powers aren't genetic, so that makes sense. That one's a lot better than a lot of other things they've done, where they just switch the race just because. I'm trying to think of a decent example, but I can probably just come back to that. Okay. Here's a good example of one that I think actually made the plot better. Sorry. Let me be very clear. The putting a black actor as, what was his name? Johnny Storm, I think is his name. That didn't make the plot worse. Let me be very clear on that. I thought it was a non-issue, and that it was just like it was, like I said, poetic license taken. That didn't make it worse, but I don't think it made it better either. What I do think was a poetic license that made the characters better was the series Gotham made Penguin gay, which actually created a lot of intrigue with his relationship and kept Riddler straight, which I actually really respect. What I happen to see a lot of is usually if a gay character has an interest in another male character, the other male character is either also gay or straight, turns bi or whatever. Usually long story short is usually they end up together, or they just end up as like really good friends. What I really respected the hell out of Gotham for doing is keeping to their own canon, keeping Riddler as a straight man, but that created a lot of really good plot intrigue for Gotham. And a lot of people had a problem with that because, the Penguin is in... Really? Because I want you to point me to a comic book that straight out says that Penguin is straight. I don't know of any... I mean, obviously, my dad reads a lot more DC comics than I do, but I don't think I've ever seen Penguin in a relationship, or at least in the serious one, with anybody. He probably has, escorts, because he's, rich and wealthy. But I don't think I've ever seen the Penguin in a relationship. That said, I also don't think I've ever seen Riddler in a relationship. But then Gotham comes along, says, hey, Riddler's with his girlfriend. His girlfriend dies. He gets a new girlfriend. Penguin kills him because, it's a love triangle gone horribly wrong. And that created a lot of good intrigue. That was a genuinely great use of of making a character gay, using it to advance the plot, and giving underrepresented communities more representation. That was really good. I was really thoroughly impressed with that. I was really happy about that. And this is the thing that I think people, again, take way too seriously. Hollywood has always done this. Hollywood tends to be more liberal than conservative. I think I can fairly say that. They certainly, the reason it's underrepresented is because Hollywood hasn't always done that. That's the point. What I mean by they've always done that is that they've always had political or at least controversial topics introduced in movies. You want to know why? Because controversy gets views. People like controversy, even if they are on the opposite side of even if they don't like the controversy, they like the controversy. People like to be mad at things. People like to like things. So when you have controversy, you're going to have people like it. You're going to have people not like it. Either way, they watch it and they're interested in it. That creates it's controversy always leads to higher viewership, and I think, it's politically brilliant. A lot of the super intersectionality identity politics movies made. I think one of them was like The Shape of Water, which I have not seen. I probably won't see it. I remember Jimmy Kimmel made this comment at the Oscars: is they make some movies not for views, just to piss off Mike Pence, which I do think is relevant, but I don't think is the main reason why people put politics into movies. Some movies are made purely for politics. Don't get me wrong. I do. Shape of Water is probably one of them. Granted, I have not seen Shape of Water. I don't really know what it's about. All I know is that there's like a fish man and a woman, and they fall in love. I think I literally know nothing of the movie other than there's like a fish person. But just because some movies are made for political reasons does not mean that they are all made for political reasons. And I think, again, people take it way too seriously on both sides. Almost every issue is a both sides issue. And this is and again, the term both sides has since the Charlottesville horror and President Trump's horrific response to it, just awful in every regard. There were not good people on both sides in Charlottesville. There were Nazis, and there were bad people on both sides, but there were a hell of a lot more good people in the. I despise Antifa with a burning passion because their motives, they become extremists when they don't intend to. They fight fascism with fascist techniques. But there were a hell of a lot more good people in the Antifa counter protest than there were in the white supremacist Nazi bullshit. There were not good people on both sides. And when he said that, I was like, you literally could not have botched that any worse. I think I understand because what I can only imagine that he was interpreting was that not every person in that was a Nazi. That's the only reason I could possibly imagine him making sense in his own mind. But it was still wrong, because if you're and I am a person who usually does not judge people based on the company they keep. I know that that's what a lot of people do, but and this is why I think that that Kelly shouldn't be really blamed for Rob Porter, because people were getting pissed off at that, and I'm like, what do you think he was doing? Do you think Rob Porter was just going into White House, John Kelly asking him, hey, how was your day, Rob? And he's like, I'm fine, had some coffee, beat my wife, the traffic commute was a little long. No, that's not what happens. People don't talk about that kind of stuff. Kelly, even with the background checks, which were light to the extreme and not really thoroughly looked at, it's easy to convince people that you're a good guy when you smile and wave. Rob Porter pulled the wool over the eyes of everyone that worked around him. I'm not surprised by that in the slightest. Same kind of thing applies here. I think Trump pulled the wool over his own eyes, and everyone was looking at him like, what the hell are you doing? But the problem here is that the term both sides has become a trigger word. Not necessarily trigger, but is what's the word for that? It's like some buzzword. It's hard to use the term both sides anymore, just for that one horrific incident. But it is genuinely a both sides problem here when the right takes Hollywood political statements too seriously, and then on Hollywood's side, Hollywood takes itself way too seriously. And this is a problem that I think every person has when it comes to whether you agree wholeheartely with Hollywood's liberal consensus, or whether you vehemently disagree with Hollywood's fair, liberal, decent amount of consensus. There's very few hardcore conservatives in Hollywood that still operate in Hollywood. Yeah, like Clint Eastwood, who's upwards of 60, 70 something. The point is that people take it way too seriously. Hollywood takes itself way too seriously. the people who despise Hollywood take it way too seriously. No one can just enjoy the movies anymore, and the actors don't make it any don't make it any easier. They go on to the Oscars, and this is what just drives me up a wall, is all of the virtue signaling bull that happens at literally any Hollywood gathering event. Did you see the Oscars? Oh my God. I mean, there were some funny moments, but there was a lot more unfunny moments. And I don't think anybody likes it when actors say their political views of any category. Whether I wholeheartedly agree with you or not, I don't want to know your politics. You are an actor. If I wanted to know your politics, I would elect you. Your job is not to say policy. I don't, and the counter argument here is that they are people with a lot of influence. Obviously, these people have millions and millions of fans, and if they want their policies to be taken seriously, if they say them on a stage where millions of people are watching, it's going to be taken seriously. The problem is that nobody wants to hear it. I think this is what Hollywood doesn't understand, is that if you like posted your policies or stuff like that on Twitter or Facebook, I think it would be taken a lot more seriously. But when you're at the Oscars, it's literally just a groan fest. And everyone talks about so many different policies that they support that no one's going to single you out. I mean, it's just, anyone who listens to the Oscars just tunes out the politics anytime you have to listen to it. I don't want to know your politics. It's like when I watched Captain America in Infinity War, which dropped just earlier today. I don't want to know your whatever side you take. I'm pretty sure Chris Evans is like super liberal. I just saw him harping on Shapiro for a thing he made about Black Panther, which I didn't really care what he had said about Black Panther, but I didn't think it was in good taste. Chris Evans, from what I understand, is super liberal, and I don't want to know that. Because when I look at you on screen, I want to think that's Captain America, not that's the super liberal Chris Evans. Same thing with remember when Leonardo DiCaprio was the biggest internet meme for not having an Oscar, and then he won an Oscar, and then he spent the next 20 minutes talking about global warming? The problem isn't global. Let me be clear. If you want to talk about global warming and have a serious conversation about global warming, don't talk about it when it's like the most important moment of your, entertainment career. Talk about that later. I mean, if it's an important issue and you can talk about it, there's nothing wrong with you talking about it. But why would you talk about it then? You have literally been working for this one thing since you were like, I don't know, it was like a teenager. I don't know how old he was when he made his first movie, but he has been going for an Oscar, and I do think he deserved it for Revenant. I love that movie. He has been going for an Oscar since he was a child, and he says, "Thank you for the Oscar." It was something along the lines of, "This warms my heart." Speaking of warming, it was such a stupid segue. And then he talks about global warming for 20 minutes. All while, by the way, he uses a private jet to fly a hat to himself. It's a different story. But, Leonardo DiCaprio is, one, not the best person to be talking about global warming, but two, if you're going to talk about global warming and you're going to take it seriously, don't do it when it's the most important moment of your life. And, obviously, to Leonardo DiCaprio's respect, probably the most important moment of his life would probably be something along the lines of getting married or having a kid. I don't actually know what his, where he stands on that, if he's married or not. But this is probably the most important moment of your entertainment career, and you politicized it. And then you ruined the meme. because the meme would have then been, you know, this is what, you try so hard and then you succeed, and then it was you try so hard and then you politicize it into partisan bullshit. That's the takeaway. Because I do think he deserved the Oscar for Revenant. I do think he deserved the. I wholeheartedly. What was it that he slept in a. There was a lot of I forget the name for training to be an actor in a harsh environment movie. But he did a lot of things that I think he absolutely deserved the Oscar for Revenant. He just politicized it and botched it, and now all I know when I see a Leonardo DiCaprio movie is, oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. He cares about global warming. Versus, oh, hey, that's Jack in Titanic doing the whatever Jack does in Titanic. Drown. And this happens way too often. It's like the sheriff in Stranger Things, and the entire cast of Stranger Things. I think it was last year's Oscars or something. Did the same thing. When Hollywood becomes super political, it's much harder to watch anything from Hollywood. I think Hollywood would be so much better if they took their entertainment career more seriously and their political career less seriously. If they are that interested in politics, run for government or sponsor certain political people. And if you want to talk politics, you can talk politics, but don't do it on the world stage. Do it on your Facebook account or your Twitter account. And that's why, this is what I liked about Chris Evans, is that he took to Twitter. I mean, granted, I don't watch a lot of Hollywood interviews, but I've never seen Chris Evans get up on stage and spout his political beliefs. But his Twitter account's full of things that he wants to talk about. Same for a lot of other people. I respect that. I like when he does that. I like when people take to their fans and not the entire world. I think that's probably I think that's probably a better way to describe it, is you have a fan base. You have people that respect and listen to you. Not everybody respects and listens to you. And a lot of people like you just because you're good in movies. So talk to your fans, because you have a fan base. You don't need to talk to everybody in the world. You need to talk to enough people to give you a platform, and you have a platform. So talk to the people that will respect you. Because when you're talking on the world stage, yeah, you're talking to more people. You're also talking to a lot more people who are going to now probably just disrespect you and may or may not watch your movies just because of how much you annoy them. And yes, Americans have the right to be, you fully have the right to annoy people. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to do this. I'm just saying that they should decide not to do this, because I feel like it only hurts them as actors. It hurts me when I see Hollywood actors talking politics, and that's now the only thing I can think about when I see that actor. It's annoying, but it's also it also hurts the actor, because I've seen a lot of things where it's like people won't go see a movie just because this actor's in it and this actor is super political. Now, granted, I feel like that's more of a loss on the consumer, because I feel like the movie's probably still going to be pretty good, whether or not the person's political in it. But I can understand the base decision of, I don't want to see it because the movie is basically ruined for me. That's probably a little bit better takeaway, is you're ruining your own movies for people in support of your politics. You're taking your politics more seriously than your entertainment career, and you are an entertainer. You're not a politician. I think that people in Hollywood need to understand this. There are a lot of things that you can do to support your own policies and to get your policies out there. You don't have to take it to the world stage. And you don't have to ruin your own movies for everybody, even the people that agree with you. But Hollywood has taken itself more seriously and too seriously. This is what I'm talking about, the difference between movies and actors. Because of what I had said earlier, was that I don't think that movies themselves are becoming more political. I think that people are taking it more politically, or taking any political points more seriously. I do think that's true. I also think, because the screen, and while the screenwriters can also, they're going to have their own politics, actors just do what the script tells them to do. I do think that the actors themselves have become a lot more political, because everyone in America has. Basically, the entire culture of America has become, you're either on one side or the other. It's very hard to be objective in America. A lot of Hollywood actors are on the liberal left. But as I'm saying, it is like, while the actors and the culture has become more liberal and left leaning, the movies themselves, I don't think, have changed that much. I mean, you have movies. I mean, the movies are going to be the movies. They're just going to be taken. I think the movies haven't changed. The actors have, and the only reason that the movies have changed is because everyone in America has become more political and more politically like one-sided, and so the movies are taken more politically seriously. Movies like Dunkirk, which was an amazing movie, got shellacked for basically not having a single black or gay person in the movie, despite there not being a black or gay person in the war. This is what I'm talking about, is like historical accuracy. You don't need to put black people into you wouldn't have a black soldier in World War I, because there were no black soldiers in World War I. And this is like, Call of Duty World War II have black female soldiers, and that is, I mean, it's a video game. Obviously, it's like 100% fiction. But if you're trying to base it in historical accuracy, that's not historically accurate. And this is the same concept with the fictional movies, is stuff like Black Panther. I don't think it would have been good to put any more white actors in the movie. I don't think it would have been good to have any Wakandan people. If the movie had taken place purely in Wakanda, I don't think it would have been right to have any white actors in the movie. Just like in Dunkirk, I don't think it would have been right to have any black actors in the movie unless one of them was a servant, because that's what if it was like an expensive ship or something, then it's just historical accuracy. Now, now that's an important thing. If you want to show how blacks were mistreated in the past, that would be a good thing to show. Would be that the blacks were not allowed to serve. Or I do think that so let me be clear. Blacks were allowed to serve, but not in that battle. There were no black soldiers in Dunkirk. But if there had been like a rich white family on a yacht, an accurate representation, because this is historically accurate, would be something like a black servant or waiter on the ship. And that would be a good way to show the mistreatment of blacks in World War I, and it would be a good. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you want to have representation, have it be historically / canonically accurate, because history tells a story, and you don't have to have the main character be the intersectionality. I think sometimes it's actually better for the side characters to be the minorities, because then it shows how in real life how they were sidelined. That's historical accuracy. It's like you put all the historically they put all the white people up in front, and they kept the blacks away from all of the limelight, and that was horrific. But I do think that that's important to show, and that's why I disagree with when they and this is what I was talking about. Historically, I take it more seriously than the fictional movies. Like as I said, I thought it was. I didn't think it was bad when they put in Black Johnny Storm. I do think it would have been taken poorly had half of the soldiers in Dunkirk been black, because that wasn't historically accurate. I do think that it is important to keep historical accuracy in movies. Otherwise, it's not a nonfiction movie. It's important to tell the real story, because people did suffer. And if you're not showing the suffering, then it's like the suffering didn't happen in the first place. And that, to me, is a lot more harmful than not giving a black actor a prominent role, because you're pretending like the suffering didn't happen. Yes, hello, butter. I guess in the long story short, it's just that I mean, I've already made my peace with how I feel on taking poetic license, and that's what I'm talking about. Is like good poetic license, gay penguin in Gotham. Bad poetic license, black female soldiers in Call of Duty Black Ops, or Call of Duty World War II. And obviously, one's a TV show, one's a game, but both of them are still fictional works of media. There is good poetic license to be taken when showing underrepresented minorities. There's also bad representation to be taken when representing underrepresented minorities. I think that Hollywood has to manage that, and obviously, the video game isn't Hollywood, but it's all within the same realm of stuff. Actually, a really good. Okay. Video's running long on time, so I'll talk about this for the next 3-something minutes. But a good counter to this is the takeaway from Far Cry 5, which is this same realm, video games. People were people were really angry that this, which by the way, Far Cry is like one of my favorite franchises. 3 is unrivaled as one of my favorite games ever made. But people were really upset that this was going. The antagonists in the game are all like the white Christian. It was a white Christian cult. That's the main antagonist in this video game, and people were saying. And people were getting really upset at this. To which I say, it's a video game. And this is what I'm talking about. Is people. Call of Duty World War II. This is the difference. World War II was an actual event. This is like a video game on a real event. And again, obviously, video games are works of fiction completely. There's nothing wrong with having the black female soldiers in World War II. I just disagree with it if they're trying to keep it to historical accuracy. Now, people were kind of saying the same thing about Far Cry 5, which is you're demonizing white men in America, or the white gun owner Christians in America. To which I say, this is a fully fictional video game, and it's awesome. Who cares? I actually really, I thought it was a really good take for Far Cry to go domestic. It was like it's something that they haven't done before, and they probably won't be able to do again because there's not many places where stuff like that happens in America. And granted, I don't really know if there's anywhere that actually happens in America. It's a fictional video game. There are no. There are. I forget the name of it's basically like groups of people. It's like their own militia. I forget what those are called. Butter, stop biting my hand. but there isn't this massive, Christian cult of people in Montana that have taken an entire city hostage. This is not realistic. This is fantasy. And so people were up in arms about how this is demonizing the white men in America, to which I say, calm your tits and enjoy the amazing video game that is Far Cry 5. Is that an allowed phrase anymore? I can't even tell. People that forgive me for that. I don't know if it's hard to tell what's allowed and what's not allowed to be said anymore. And I don't really know how YouTube's guidelines work with talking, but calm down and enjoy the game. It's cool, and you need to stop taking things so politically seriously. If you want to take things seriously, then keep it to stuff like historical accuracy and canonicity, like I had talked about. But when it comes to fiction, anything is valid, and if you don't like it, then don't play it. You don't have to like it, but this isn't a civil rights movement, and it's a video game, and it's a fun one. And I'm gonna end this here. Outro. Yeah. I'm gonna need to think of one of these seriously. But yeah, got that. That was pretty good. Good take. So the takeaway: enjoy what you want to enjoy. Don't take things so politically seriously. Not everything has to be so political. If you care so much, then talk about stuff like historical accuracy. Don't talk about stuff like intersectionality. Peace.